Welcome to the Fight Night Daily Podcast. We're here in Liverpool. Nick Ball returns, defending his WBA featherweight title, boxing the tough Brandon Figeuroa. And Paul, great fight we got here. The weigh-in's just been done. Both guys looked in great shape. Tomorrow night's going to be explosive. Yeah,
it should be. I think all the fights that Nick Ball has are explosive. I think he fights that way. I love his style. It's hard to not admire him, especially if you're from Liverpool. He's one of ours. He's carrying the torch at the moment. Him and Jazza Dickens are the world champions that we've got at the minute. Your brother Callum's the interim champion, but the main world champions at the moment is Nick Ball leading the way. Jazza Dickens following up, and I said Nick first because he's a bit younger and Jazz is a bit older, but it's okay again at the moment. It's good again at the moment, Liverpool. We've had a little patchy phase, but we're back.
Let's talk a little bit about Nick Ball's opponent. Brandon Figeuroa is a former two-weight world champion, 5'9". Nick Ball, as we know, is a very small champion at 5'2". Now, this is a potential banana skin here for where they want to take Nick Ball. You know, there's talks of Nui and the big fights that are happening. Last time Nick Ball boxed here, TJ Donaghy, back in March 2025, he had to adjust and he had to adapt and show that he's got that capability. And he might have to do the same tomorrow night, because Figueroa, for people that don't know him, is a tough nut to crack.
He is. I totally agree with what you're saying. I think it is a banana skin. I think it's got the potential to be, should we say, it's definitely a hard fight for him. It's a very tricky fight, and I think it's a bit of a hiding to nothing in the sense that if he beats him and wipes him out easy, it's like, well, he was supposed to do that. If he struggles with him, it's like he shouldn't be struggling with someone like him, but he's a very good fighter. He's very capable, as you said, there's potentials already. And it's one where Nick Ball's going to have to be switched on just to make sure that he gets the job done. I think he does that, and I think he does get the job done well, but I don't think it'll be easy.
Liverpool steeped in history when it comes to world champions in boxing. You know, we're going to talk about some of those a little bit later on, but Paul Hodgkinson comes to mind here, former world champion at this weight division as well, and he was a real star back in the day.
Yeah.
The question I want to ask you is, how do we make Nick Ball that star? Because we've seen what he does inside the ring, and he's explosive, exciting, and everyone, you know, it's edge of your seat stuff. But what's missing from that? How do we make him that star?
I don't know. It's a tough one, Spence, because obviously, like my brother Callum, I can go back to Callum. Callum is quiet. Callum doesn't really like doing any self-publicity at all. He doesn't really like doing much media stuff. And it's not because he doesn't like it or he isn't good at it. He's very good at it. He speaks well. He's just not interested in promoting himself or self-publicity. I don't know if Nick's that type of character either. I don't think he's the one who's going to be shouting things from the rooftops and all over Instagram and social media, promoting himself and plugging himself. But also the thing with Callum is his fighting does the talking, and I think Nick Ball does his talking as well. So hopefully we see more of him in bigger fights. He gets more eyes on his fights, and we see just how good he can be, because I think he's a special talent. He can fight. He sets an unbelievable pace, as I keep saying. He's strong, he's aggressive, and he has power.
Yeah, he deserves that. I think he deserves that opportunity. He's been in with some tough fighters, beat some tough fighters, and, you know, looking for those big fights down the road. Now, let's move on to the undercard. You got a fighter on the undercard, Stephen Clark. Good fighter, 8-0.
Yeah.
You know, coming through the ranks. Tell us a little bit about him.
Steve won the ABAs and then about to turn pro, and it's funny you mention him because he is actually here, and here's one we prepared earlier.
I said the right thing there, by the way, wasn't it? It's like,
here's one we prepared earlier. Steve won the ABAs, ABA champion, England international, boxed for the Rotunda. He obviously had a very successful amateur career, worked really hard all the way, and the working really hard thing, which is what Nick Ball does, is a common theme and a common denominator with Steve, because all he does is work really hard in the gym. He's a dedicated professional. He's trained by my brother Stephen Smith, and I've been managing him now since his pro debut, and it's a pleasure to manage him. And I'm not just saying it because he's here. You don't have to ask him to do anything twice, and more importantly for Stephen in the gym, telling young Stephen, you don't need to ask him to do anything twice in the gym. He works really hard and he's got talent, Spence.
Yeah, Stephen, I saw you actually on your debut. I could see the talent then. That was way back in a couple of years ago.
Couple of years now, yeah.
Card, weren't it? You've come on, you've progressed, you're developing nicely, you're doing, you know, good work under the tutelage of Paul. You've got a good team around you. Now let's talk about the tickets you sold, mate, because I've got to throw that in there, by the way. 84 grand's worth of tickets or something that you sold for this one. Shows how popular you are and the opportunity you've got here. If they develop you right and guide you in the right way, Liverpool being the boxing city that it is, you know, you've got a great opportunity to become a star in your own way.
Oh, definitely, and that's what I want to do. You know, people from Liverpool, they all get behind you. So, you know, my plan is just to, you know, keep winning, keep putting on good performances, and hopefully that, you know, the support just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then yourself just get onto bigger and bigger opportunities, and you know, hopefully become world champion like Nick Ball one day.
It's tough as well, though, Spence, because obviously I've been speaking about Steve since he turned professional a couple of years ago, and it's not in a biased way. I obviously manage him. I want the kid to do well, but as I said about him being a dream to manage, he's such a nice kid, polite, well-mannered, very respectful. We've always had a great relationship, his family and our family. This is how Ricky Hatton started, and it's tough because I never wanted to think, stop comparing me to Ricky Hatton or other people. It's not that. This is how you build a fan base. And at the start, they're coming and they're buying the tickets, and there's hundreds of buying the tickets to go and watch him fight, and they're spending their hard-earned money. But then that snowballs, and it has a snowball effect, especially in the city. And if you keep performing and keep delivering, keep showing up, keep giving 100%, then they're going to want to keep following you and coming back. And if they're leaving that fight and they're happy and they're pleased, they're going to go on and buy a ticket the next time you fight. But it's not just the tickets, obviously. He can fight and he can back it up. He has the amateur credentials, and now 8-0 as a pro, hopefully 9-0 after tomorrow night, and keep continuing to his first 8-rounder and get up there for some area titles, and hopefully knocking on the door for domestic titles soon, Spence.
Now, it's a cracking card we've got in there. Andrew Kane's boxing in a world title eliminator. You've got the young Jack Turner, who's had 13 fights, 12 of those, by the way, a KO, by the way. So, stacked card. You've got to rival those guys. You know, you want to stand out, you want to shine, you know, you want to keep building that profile. How do you do that?
I put the work in the gym, me and Steve, you know, work hard every day, and feel good, I feel ready. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I've been looking forward to tomorrow for weeks now. I'm ready to go on. I'm ready to put on a big performance for everyone.
I said earlier, didn't I, when he turned up, like, when you see a fighter turning up and he's just got off the scales, you know what it was like to make weight. I know what it was like to make weight. Trust me. I was a miserable little bastard.
Same.
I was an angry little man, do you know what I mean? He'd come over with a big smile from ear to ear, and I just couldn't work that out, mate. He said, oh, I'm just happy to be here. And then you obviously dropped in that you sold 84 grand worth of tickets, so that sort of helps a little bit as well.
The thing, though, Spence, what you're saying, again, you know this. When you've done the work and you've ticked every box, you've got to smile.
Yeah.
You've done it all.
You're ready, aren't you? So I'm just looking forward to tomorrow. Weighed in, partly refueled. You know, just looking forward to tomorrow. Like
Bit of food shortly.
Bit of food shortly, yeah. So that's what I'm smiling for. I'm smiling for the Italian later.
Exactly, mate. Well, listen, before we let you go, tell us a little bit about your opponent and how you win this fight.
Win this fight any means necessary. Opponent, his game, he comes in as a goal, which is better for me, better than the last couple of opponents I've been having in the past, which I think only the better opponent's going to bring the best out of me. You know, even in the amateurs, the better opponents I fought, the better Steve Clark he got. So tomorrow night you're gonna see a very good Steve Clark.
Listen, something's just come to my mind actually. You know, when we're talking about boxing, you know, Liverpool being steeped in history of boxing, Paul Hodgkinson and stuff like that. I want to go back further than that. I want to go back to John Conte, who's the godfather of Liverpudlian boxing, if you like. We had him on talkSPORT earlier, and he told me an interesting fact, and I want to try and catch you both out here, by the way. You're a Liverpool fan?
He's a blue.
Right,
That's the only negative he has is he's a blue.
So you just saved your bacon there, mate, because I think I'm going to catch him out, because he's giving it all the big, and he's a big Liverpool fan.
Go on.
So, tell me, Liverpool Football Club, what was it originally built for?
The club or the ground?
The ground.
Apparently them lot, apparently Everton. But then they couldn't pay the rent, so we had to take it over, I believe.
Nah, it wasn't, mate.
Go on.
Do you want me to tell you? I mean, I'm not Liverpudlian, am I?
Go on, Spence. You're a fountain of knowledge.
So originally, the ground was built for boxing and wrestling.
Okay.
Not even football.
So I'll tell you a bit of Liverpool history as well on a similar basis.
Hold on, mate.
Liverpool actually had the only purpose-built boxing stadium in the country, the Liverpool Stadium, and it was knocked down when I was a kid. And it was just round the corner on Bixter Street. And John Conte and all the other great fighters of that time actually have got a memorial, a tribute to the old stadium outside it with their names on it. It'd been amazing to go in there, but I'm a bit young, Spence. I'm not as old as you, mate.
I know I'm like 104, but I'm not being a smart arse, mate. John Conte told me that story because he actually boxed there at the old stadium.
Yeah.
And he said to me that's where Liverpool Football Club
Liverpool Stadium,
from. And he actually boxed on 2 undercards. He was telling me, how mad is this? Of Muhammad Ali, one of those, one of those in Liverpool was just mad.
The thing with John Conte, we've had also obviously successful world champions from this city. My brothers Bellew, Tasha, all the world champions that have come from this city. Even Hodgkinson, I don't think many have rivaled Conte and how good he was. And my dad used to always tell me he was the first to start throwing the head back in at the Yanks. and when they were fighting the way they were fighting, and world champions in the 70s and all that. And Conti, I think, is still regarded in this city certainly as the best to come from the city.
Yeah, he certainly is. Well, there's something for you to aim for, mate. If you're looking for inspiration and somewhere you want to go, John Conti's your man, mate. That's how you need to replicate someone like that. Steve, thanks so much.
Thank
for
you,
joining us,
Steve.
mate, and we wish you so much. The best of luck for tomorrow night, mate. Good luck with that.
Thanks,
All right,
Steve.
cheers, mate. Cheers. Yeah, no, lovely kid, isn't he?
He's
Yeah,
a good
nice
kid.
nice
Honestly, he's such a nice kid, and when the bell goes, he's spiteful in there, but he's a nice, polite, respectful, well-mannered kid who works really hard, and that's all you can ask for with kids. His parents must be so proud of him.
Stephen Clark, keep your eye out for him. He's on the undercard tomorrow night. So let's move on.
Yeah.
You know, I want to talk about.
I want a little fact about the stadium, though, about Anfield. The last Liverpool fighter, the last fight to be held at Anfield, is Nell Tarleton. Nell Tarleton's cousin Albert Tarleton was one of the best pigeon racers in Britain, and he was partners with Duncan Ferguson in Ormskirk in Lancashire, not far from where I am.
I didn't know that, mate. I'm giving you the history here. Well, let's move on.
Go on.
Well done, mate. Let's move on. Look, you saw the fallout between Deontay Wilder and Derek Chisora in the studio just at the beginning, earlier on in the week.
Don't you mean Deontay Wilder and Simon Jordan?
Well, that as well. Yeah, and that as well. But look, before we get into it all, I want to show you a clip. Let's have a look at the clip of Deontay Wilder losing the plot with Simon Jordan.
I wanted to move you on to Tyson Fury.
And I don't want to talk about him.
No, you're going to.
We're here about this.
No, but you're going to.
We're not going to talk about him
but
at all.
But as part
we're
of
not going to talk about him at all. Understand that?
No, fair enough.
All right, then. So let's move on. It's all about Derek Chisora, and that's it.
I understand that. I understand that. The only
back, baby.
The only
Y'all
reason,
understand that? You better be. April the 4th is going down.
The only reason.
At the O2, you better be there.
Fabulous.
You'll be a square.
The only reason I mentioned it is because it's part of the shtick that goes with you. And I missed you first time round when you came in here 3 years ago, when you were in your pomp 4 years ago, doing Bomb Squad and all that sort of stuff. And I've always wanted to have a conversation with you because you've made observations about Fury. I have my own views on Fury. And you've called him a cheat. And it leads me
the biggest in boxing.
Yeah, but it leads me to a conclusion.
Biggest in boxing. If somebody practicing, taking their stuff out of their gloves in training, what you think they're going to do in the fight?
Yeah, but...
That's all I got to say about that,
I want to
bro.
put something to you about you, right? And Fury just happens to be the hook for it.
That's all I got to say about him.
You talked about being cheated in that fight. You talked about water being spiked. You talked about your Game of Thrones outfit being too heavy for you.
I didn't say that.
You said it was too heavy for you.
I didn't say that.
Okay, well I might be wrong on that one. You talked about the long.
Y'all took a journalist that said something because y'all, everybody wanted to come in. Oh, wow, boom, boom, boom.
You talked about a long count, right? And then you talked about the trainers, Mark Brulin not being good enough.
No, I ain't say he wasn't good enough.
So what I'm asking you in all of this is, it sounds to me, given the character that you are, that's like a little bit flaky. You lost those fights, and those fights were lost. And you saying that someone like Fury cheated you in those fights, I think is kind of disappointing to me
You can say
about
what you
because
want. I know the truth. I have the facts.
Okay.
Understand that. Because when the documentary and everything, the story come out, I'm going to show every thing.
Fantastic.
I'm going to get all the people that know and all the people that's in the inside. He got people that in the inside of him. That can know. I don't give a about that.
I'm not a Fury
I don't give a about it. I said we didn't want to bring him up in the first place. It ain't got to do with him.
Fair enough.
So there we saw it. Deontay Wilder, Simon Jordan. As you could see, Paul, I didn't save his bacon, mate. I wasn't getting out my seat. You saw the old head drop. I started scrolling through.
The one.
Wilder was raging there, weren't he? He was absolutely raging. If you were sitting next to him, by the way, before we move on with this whole conversation, and he got up, you saw what he was going like. I saw him edging closer to Simon. Simon being very smart, saving his chair. Glad he never got up. Who knows what would have happened.
Yeah.
Would you have backed him?
I'd have had to back Simon because he sort of helped me out with me job on talkSPORT, so I sort of own one and felt a bit sorry that I wasn't there. And the day I wasn't there, he nearly gets filled in by Deontay Wilder. But it was honestly, all jokes aside, it was hysterical. I was laughing my head off watching whether Simon was going to panic because listen, he's a scary fella. Wilder, he's a handful. He can fight, he can punch. He didn't look all together there as well, some of the stuff he was saying to Simon, so I was a bit worried for you. I seen you laughing, I know you can handle yourself, and Chisora was just sitting there laughing his head off, milking it all in and staring the pot even more, wasn't he, putting the tissues on the table and that. But listen, it is what it is. That it's very sort of, you know yourself, I'm not touchy, but if someone starts criticising me boxing ability and I know I can box better than them, you're going to have an argument, you know what I mean? And boxers are that type of people. We can take stick, we have thick skin, but sometimes you just don't want to take stick, and sometimes you want to stand up and defend yourself and give a bit back. And I think Wilder certainly was on the offensive the other day, but it is what it is. It's one of them fights. They need to build it up. They need to publicise it and make it sound as good as it's going to be. And the fact that they're evenly matched is why I'm good with the fight, and I'll be watching it myself.
Yeah, listen, I thought Simon handled himself well, to be fair. You know, he stayed in his chair, but, you know, you're not going to get up with Deontay Wilder, hence why I weren't getting up with Deontay Wilder. But what did you make out of the whole thing, though, like, as a whole? Like, do you think that was good for the fight?
I don't think it was bad for the fight in the sense that, you know, people aren't going to look at that and think, well, I'm not watching it now. I think he's obviously a very emotional fella. He's had an unbelievable career. He's obviously at the end of his career. He obviously knows deep down he's not what he was, because no one is at that age. After 49 fights, no one is going to be as good as he was in the prime, or the peak, should we say. And both these fighters, with all due respect to them both, are past the peak. But that's why it will be a good fight, and why it makes for a good fight, I think. If it was one of them in the peak and one of them past it, it wouldn't be a good fight. But I think it is going to be a good fight. Both of them in the 50th fight, which is a very interesting stat, shall we say. And it's the 100th fight between them. But I think it's one that's going to be a good fight.
Here's what I took from it, from Deontay Wilder, when you go back to, like, Joseph Parker defeat, and then there's Yele Zhang one, which was a disastrous defeat for him, but looked a shell of his former self, and you looked at it and you go, you know what, he does look like a shot fighter, and I don't think you can rekindle that. But what I got from that whole thing was, and speaking to him before, and then I met up with him in the press conference after, and by the way, he was brilliant. He wanted a cup of tea with Simon, believe it or not. He said it's all love, and it was just that Simon was pressing the buttons about Tyson Fury, and you understand that. We knew what it all was. But he was a good sport after it all, and I think, yeah, mentally he is there. That people that were asking, was he there, is he not there? You know, he didn't seem all together. But what it was for me was the Deontay Wilder of old, the bronze bomber.
Yeah.
That's what I got there, because he's a very erratic character. He's always been that way.
Yeah.
Look through the history of it. You look through his life, and that's nothing new.
Yeah, it's not an act,
is
is it?
He's not mentally stable. He is.
Yeah.
It was like he had rediscovered something, and he talked about the personal problems and the betrayal outside of that. And if he has rediscovered that, Paul, and I think it's the unknowing going into this one now, then we've got a good fight on our hands.
Yeah, I think honestly it's going to be a typical case of, obviously, Wilder looking for that devastating power what he has, and hopefully it'll still be there for him. And Chisora using his toughness, durability, and his will to win, which he's always had in bucket loads, to try and ride the storm, in my opinion, weather the storm early, come on strong late, and catch Wilder and get to Wilder late, which I think would be the plan. I think that's how I can see the fight panning out. If Wilder is better on his day, then he'll be sharper early on, and if he lands early on, he'll probably do the job early on. But I can see Chisora weathering the storm. I can see Wilder fading and running out of ideas, and I can see Chisora, fingers crossed, because obviously he's one of ours, to come on strong late and get the job done.
Tyson Fury responded to that whole clip, because it obviously all started with him and Simon pushing him on the Tyson Fury situation.
Which was right to do, though, I thought, Spence. I thought it was right to do as well.
And we know that Deontay Wilder has been calling Tyson Fury a drug cheat, and he's got evidence of that and whatnot. But let's see what Tyson Fury had to say in his response.
I'm just sat here thinking about all the stuff that Deontay Wilder's been saying recently. And even me, I got sort of dragged into posting stuff, video me knocking him out and whatever. I've just deleted it actually off my story, because rather than retaliating and hate on somebody, this man really does have mental health issues, it's evident to see. And rather than just go back and forward with him and yada yada yada, saying he's deluded and all that, I'm just going to pray for him, and I'm going to ask God to help him. He obviously needs the help, and yeah, I'm not getting involved in pettiness. The fights were won fair and square, and that's it. I'm going to pray for him, and I'm going to ask the Father to bring him back to the light, because this man is a lost soul, and I beg Jesus to return him to the kingdom.
There we are, Tyson Fury there offering his support. Said, listen, it's deeper than that now. He doesn't think that he's mentally stable. Said, you can even come into my gym. Yes, what do you make of that, Paul? Was that reverse psychology, or do you think he's genuinely concerned about the mental state of Deontay Wilder?
Listen, not to sound cheesy, Tyson Fury's a nice fella. He always has been. He's played a few personas in his career and in his life to get by in certain situations, but deep down, the man that's sitting on the couch at home filming that video, sitting on the bed at home filming that video, is a nice fella, and I'm sure he means every word that he says in that. and it's not for publicity. I can't, you know, he's not. I'm not saying he's not that smart. He's not that he's not that vindictive Tyson Fury where he'll create something trying to play when he's really thinking, I hope you suffer. Or I think he's a nice fella deep down, and he probably is offering that. It was clear to see there was something wrong with Deontay Wilder there, to the Deontay Wilder that we all know, and he knows him better than all of us. He's fought him 3 times, so you know I thought it was a good touch, a nice touch to be fair, and probably the most dignified way of answering the rants that Wilder was having.
Quick word on Tyson Fury. He's fighting now. The date's been broke. April the 11th. Arsenal back Makhmudov. Tough fight to come back with, by the way. How do you think Tyson Fury finishes his career?
Good question. I think he should beat Makhmudov, but this is the thing. I saw signs of a little bit of aging, maybe, or a little bit of worry, shall we say, when he fought against Francis Ngannou, and then in the Usyk fight, I don't think he was what he was in the past, even though Usyk is unbelievable quality and was going to do a job no matter what. He catches up with us all for the time. He beats everyone and he's undefeated, and I just don't know if it's still 100% there with Fury. Obviously he's fading. I just hope it's not faded too much so someone like Makhmudov could beat Fury, because 3 years earlier that we wouldn't be talking about this fight. But that's boxing. That's what makes this game either great, special, makes you love it, makes you hate it, makes you absolutely despise it, because we see so many times these crossroads fights, someone who's coming through and someone who's on the way down, and he meets somewhere in the middle, and the winner goes on and the loser goes off, and usually it's the case of the younger fighter, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes they're still fighting the old dog. Yeah, I think that'll be the case in Tyson Fury, but the fact that we're debating this type of fight says it all, doesn't it, really?
Can he win a world title again?
Not unless Usyk has all the belts. Now that obviously he'll fragment, but now that obviously Wardley has that, can Tyson beat Wardley? Again, 2 years ago it was a no-brainer. It was the easiest question of all. Now, who knows? You know, he's done really well. Wardley, Fury, as I say, in my opinion, I think is on the decline. But the fact that we're questioning this and we're having debates about this, I think says it all, really. But it's not a foregone conclusion. But I would say probably not. No.
Josh Kelly had a great win last week against Mutazeli, who was heavily favoured going into that one, by the way, for the IBF title. Brilliant win there. Mutazeli, by the way, I don't know if you've seen that just recently, is now trying to get that rematch. He said it was unfair circumstances due to the 10th round scoring, of the 10-10 scoring and all that. Firstly, do you think that he gets that rematch, or do you think Josh Kelly takes a different route? I know that Conor Benn's been thrown in there as well. Is that a fight that's a possibility? I personally wouldn't be giving the rematch out, firstly. I think the way the IBF is, you're going to have a mandatory put on you quick anyway, so you're going to be fighting a number one or a mandatory. And if he's in mandatory position, then there's your rematch. But for now, no, there's so many big, lucrative, exciting fights out there that Josh Kelly can have, and it was a great performance as well, I thought, by the way. I think he's a very... I think he's a very talented fighter now, who has always been looked at, in my opinion, as a prospect. Someone who, he looks a lot younger than he is, so you'd always think he's a young lad coming through. He's always been sort of knocking on the door at that level. He had his first little blip against Avanasian, but now he's back and he's proved that he's finally won the title. He's been with Adam Booth from the start. They've had a great run. Very, very good fighter, gifted fighter, I think, in my opinion, and he's finally now world champion. If I'm him, I'm enjoying it for a little bit. I'm getting the biggest and best fight that I can for the most money at the start that I can probably win, and then you're going to get on your mandatory and try and find some unification fights. Yeah, listen, there's big fights out there for him. Virgil Ortiz Jr., Boots Ennis, just to name a couple of fighters in that division, and Conor Benn obviously floating around. Will he come back at 154? By the way, I do think he comes back at 154. I think 147 might be a struggle.
You've said that from the start, haven't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's it from us, the Fight Night Daily Podcast. Paul Smith.
Thanks, Spence.
Thank you so much,
Thank you, mate.
And make sure you guys tune in again tomorrow. We'll see you then.